Hello and welcome to another video, and excuse my slightly strange location for this introduction. Normally I introduce my videos on location. You're expecting me to be in Sydney on this particular intro, but I'm actually in Newcastle at the moment and I wanted to give you a quick update with the channel. As you've probably seen, my content's been a little thin in the last couple of months, and that's because I've been dealing with a lockdown in the UK and I've been sort of saving my content for when it's going to really matter the most. So the good news is, although I've not been putting out content over the last couple of months, I've got a huge backlog to post between now and Christmas. And this is one of the final Australia and beyond videos you'll be seeing today. We're traveling from Auckland to Sydney and then on to Denpasar in Bali with Qantas. Another couple more videos in that series, and then we have 27 more videos to put out over the next several months. I've got a huge backlog to put out. There's loads more to come from this channel, and I really hope you enjoy this video reviewing Qantas Business Class. For those of you who've forgotten where we are in this series, I'm beginning my journey with a connecting flight to Sydney from Auckland. The 3.5-hour journey across the Tasman Sea was on one of Qantas's Boeing 737-800s. It was very early in the morning, and I slept for most of it, so there's just these abbreviated highlights. A big thanks though to the crew who spotted me fast asleep after takeoff and saved my breakfast for me until shortly before landing. Touchdown in Sydney was around 8:15 AM local time. Now, I've already reviewed Qantas's business lounge during the Fiji Airways A350 video, so I won't go over everything again, but they do have some excellent shower suites, and I was very grateful to have somewhere to freshen up and feel a bit more human after an early start. My layover was some 5 hours long. It wasn't supposed to be that way, but there'd been some schedule changes since I booked the ticket, and I explored the airport a bit. There's a fascinating McDonald's in the international terminal, which is ideal if you're on a budget. But of course the airport has a whole heap of really expensive shops, if that's your thing. It's really strange to edit this video and see all the international flights serving Sydney here. Australia's borders are currently closed, and Qantas, the national airline, has removed almost all its international flights from further sail, other than New Zealand, right through until spring 2021. Our aircraft for today's flight is Airbus A330-200, named Ningaloo Reef. That's a 300-kilometre reef being found off the west coast of Australia. Qantas uses its A330s on some medium to long-range international flights, as well as some domestic services where capacity dictates a wide-body aircraft is needed. The airline's smallest aircraft is the Dash 8, and the airline also wholly owns the low-cost carrier Jetstar. Business class passengers and One World Emerald frequent flyers get to board first, so on we go.
Please.
Thank you. On this A330, there are 19 business class seats in this front cabin. A smaller cabin behind the main doors has just 8 seats, and there are a total of 224 economy seats further back. The business class seats are Thomson Vantage XLs and are arranged in a 1-2-1 configuration. Be warned though, only half the window seats are truly by the window. The other half are next to the aisle and much less private. You should consult the seat map when booking to make sure you pick the right one. Qantas have installed overhead racks above the centre seats as well as by the windows, which makes the cabin a bit less spacious feeling, but obviously provides a lot more room for bags. And yes, this is one of the increasing numbers of business class seats that now come with a 3-point seatbelt, just like a car.
Okay, looks like we're leaving the terminal now, so cabin crew, time to go flying. Can you arm the doors and cross-check them?
Just announced that he was working through a tech issue in the cockpit. We're still here on the taxiway, not sure if we're going to be taking off or going back to the gate for a long wait while this gets fixed. Let's see what happens and whether he's fixed things.
And that requires us to go back to the gate, and engineering needs to perform about 45 minutes of testing on the remaining flight control computer so they can dispatch again. So it's going to be about 45 minutes at the gate. That is just a ballpark figure. I'll keep you advised if that improves or gets worse for us. But thanks for your patience. We'll have you back on the gate very shortly and get this all sorted out. Thank you.
So our delay eventually turned into an hour, but not to worry, champagne and snacks will see us through. So, not the best start to the day, but we're airborne, albeit a bit late, and in comfort and safety. Today's flight to Denpasar takes 6 hours and 20 minutes, covering 2,868 miles in the process. The seats in Qantas business class are pretty competitive and come with good legroom and a decent sized screen. The seat controls are in a logical place, and each aspect of the seat can be controlled independently, as well as there being some preset settings too. Storage is also fine, with the aisle console housing a trough which will fit most of your bits and bobs, along with a bottle holder, headphone holder and a reading lamp. The power sockets are here too and are easy to access. There's also a small remote tucked away under the flap which controls the in-flight entertainment screen, and this flap also contains a mirror in case you forget what you look like. In-flight reading material is stored in a small folder behind the seat in front. Just beware that if you're a large or clumsy person, you might find these window seats a bit difficult to access. The gangway is quite narrow. The table deploys from the console and is fine, although I couldn't find a way to move it away when it's got stuff on it so you can exit the seat. This seat itself was a little bit tatty, and the decision to use light colours at the level where people scuff their shoes doesn't seem like a wise one to me. The amenity kit is basic but contains everything you'd need. This isn't a particularly long flight, and it isn't overnight either, so this product is totally fine in my view. Now, onto the good stuff. Qantas excels with the choices on this flight. It's one of their shorter international flights, but there are no fewer than 4 choices for main course and 4 for dessert, which is pretty impressive. I've been on flights twice this length with other airlines which have a smaller choice. It's worth pointing out too that Qantas only serves Australian wines on board. I always appreciate airlines offering a local touch to their service. The chicken salad to start was excellent. The black vinegar dressing was tangy and the greens fresh and crunchy. Those of you who subscribe to this channel, and if you don't already, why not? Do it now. Anyway, those who subscribe will know I chose the beef fillet as soon as I showed you the menu. Steak is always hit and miss on an aircraft, but I'm pleased to say this one was much more delicious than it looked. And is it just me, or do you often not see peas in business class these days? Anyway, apparently they were fresh out of bread and butter pudding, so I was stuck with an ice cream sandwich for dessert. I've never actually had one of these before, but it was surprisingly filling. Oh, and it turned out they did have a spare pudding left after all. So sure, why not have that too? After a few hours, darkness fell and I decided to take a nap. The cabin was very, very dark, so you'll just have to believe me when I say there's a flat bed with a comfy mattress topper there. Anyway, I managed a couple of hours undisturbed sleep. The bed's long enough and the footwell size was fine. Also, it's pretty handy to have a bottle of water on standby when sleeping on planes, as your throat can feel really dry when you wake up thanks to the lack of moisture in the air. This particular A330 is one of the few in Qantas's fleet not to have Wi-Fi, which is a shame, but there is a comprehensive entertainment system on hand. A pre-landing snack of beef koftas was served along with a coffee. You don't usually see the crew in my videos, but the people serving business class on this flight were excellent. Service was really polished. As a first-time visitor to Australia on this tour, I was really surprised at how well Aussies can do high-quality service, and my visit to the country will definitely not be the last. As it turns out, having that coffee and checking out the lavatory was a good idea just then, as we were about to enter a really spectacular storm, and the seatbelts were on for the final half an hour. The turbulence was so bad when we descended, in fact, probably the worst I've had in years, that it was unsafe to film, and I was instead braced in my seat along with everybody else until we dipped below the clouds. We passed overhead the airport during our descent and finally landed about an hour later than scheduled. Despite the disappointment of having no Wi-Fi and the cabin being a bit scruffy, I really enjoyed my flights with Qantas. I've flown them in economy and business now and was most impressed by the service, which was consistently solid. A lot of Aussies love to hate Qantas, but I can tell you that as a Brit, hating your national airline is nothing unusual. Qantas is a solid airline, and if you do manage to get a decent price, like I did, there's not a huge amount to complain about. Finally, thanks for watching, and a special hello to my Australian viewers as you endure the harshest of COVID lockdowns this year. Thanks for following, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.